Alright guys, welcome back to the course. In this lecture, I'm going to take a look at how to program drums in FL Studio. So first of all, I'm opening up this project that we created earlier in the course, and I'm going to go for the packs and drums. And as you can see here, we have different individual drums we can use for our beat. And we're going to produce a complete beat here. You can do that in several ways inside of FL Studio. You can either program it through the channel rack, so you can lay out each and every individual sample here in a channel rack, and then you can go with the step sequencer here to get the programming in time. And you can also choose the piano roll here instead of the step sequencer if you want to get one, let's say, one note in one side or the other side, for instance. All right, so we're going to take this first method here, and yeah, let's just create a kick drum here. So let's find a nice kick drum. Let's take this one. So I'm going to create just a basic kick drum pattern here. I'm going to lower the tempo a bit to 120 BPM. All right, so now we have our kick drum. I want to have a hi-hat as well. So let's choose a close hi-hat for now. Let's use this one. And we can do it like this, or we can just go and fill each 8 steps, or actually fill each 2 steps. All right, let's go with a snare. And there we have our very, very simple basic beat here. So I want to make this hi-hat a bit more like a human is playing it, because now it's the same velocity here. So it sounds very, very computerized. So let's just right click on the instrument that you want to change. And here you can see all of our individual MIDI notes. And this is the MIDI notes that we created in the channel rack. So here you can also see the control, and you have the note velocity enabled here. So I can just take each and every single note here and just lower the velocity a bit like this. And you can see each and every single marker here is corresponding to the note that we have here. So let's say that I create a note here. You will see that it actually created a note here as well in the control bar. So let's take a listen to it now. I think it's maybe too low in volume. You can also add notes to this to the piano roll here. So you can just create like this maybe. You can also hold shift and just scroll with the mouse to get the note a bit of the for the side. So you can see here. So there are a lot of different things you can do here in the piano roll. And I could sit here and program drums for hours and hours, but I think you will be bored watching me just programming drums. So I just want to show you how to do this very, very quickly within the step sequencer and the channel rack. So as I explained before in the channel rack video, you can also go here and create the same thing here with the velocity. And you can also see the piano roll by just clicking here instead of the step sequencer. There are some different ways as well you can do it. So instead of going with the channel rack here, you can just close the channel rack here and just drag in the different individual drums into the playlist immediately. So if we just choose this dialog here, the audio clips in the picker, you can go to kick drums here, and let's import the same kick drum. So we want it to be in the kick drum section, and we really have to zoom in right now. So let's do that. Let's go back here. Okay. So now we have a kick drum, and now we can just pan it out like this. And this is way too zoomed in, so let's do it like this instead. So as you can hear, the playlist stops playing wherever the last audio sample is at. So it's going to be, it's not going to be in time here. So what we can do here is to just right click and hold for the selection that you want to play. And it will loop that section. So yeah, this is what you want to use when creating drums in this view here. All right, so now let's go for an hi-hat, and let's go for the close one. Same thing goes here. And now it can get a bit complicated if you have a lot of sounds which is very close to each other, but you can do with this. And you can see that the velocity is now the same. So if you want to lower the velocity, you actually have to go inside one of each and every single audio file here and lower the volume a bit. And you can see all of this are now linked to each other because we created the same. We actually just having the same audio files playing here. So I can't really do that as well. But what I can do here is to make unique as sample. And now we have a new sample here. So as you can see, it's number 2 and number 3, as you can see. So what I can do here now is to just double click, change the volume here, and it will stay the same volume in there. All right, so let's take the next element here, and we're going to use the snare. So it puts our snare there. Let's lower the volume a bit, so we can do that by double clicking on the individual audio samples. Let's do the same thing with the hi-hat. So now we have our very basic, simple drum beat here as well. There is one more method you can do. You can program your beats in FL Studio as well. And that is to use it with a plugin. So let's go back to the channel rack here and let's create a new plugin. I'm going to use the FPC plugin here. And here you can see this is like a drum machine. So there are already loaded up sounds here. And what you need to do here is to program the drums with the piano roll. So you can just go to FPC here, piano roll, and here you can see all of the individual drum sounds. So what you want to do here is to, I have to zoom in a bit first. Let's create that a bit bigger and use pattern. So as you can see, this way it's a lot easier to make some nice cool grooves with the beat. So I rarely use the FBC method, kind of drum machine method with the piano roll. What I use most often is to just take audio samples and lay them out in the playlist like this, and then just select them all and copy them over to where I want them to be in the track, basically. So you can do it all these different ways. I think you should try all of these 3 different ways to create beats. What I mostly often use actually is to just take loops that are pre-made, so pre-made drum loops, for instance, and then cut out the different individual elements. So you can do that as well. I'm going to show you one of the drum loops that I use. Let's say here we have drum loops that comes with FL Studio. So what you can do here is to just disable all of these tracks here and just listen to this one. Do now with this drum loop is to select the slicer here, and we can slice whatever we want. So let's say that we just want the kick drum here. Let's go back to the draw tool. So now we have a kick drum like this. Cool. So what we can do here now is I'm going to just borrow this track here, just delete the snare there, and take the drum loop here again and just use the snare for it. So here's the snare. Just select that as well. All right. Let's take a listen to some other elements that we may use in our drum loop. Here's a clear hi-hat sample. So let's use that as well. Okay, so what we have now is a hi-hat, snare, and a kick drum here. So let's use the hi-hat here. Let's move the snare over to here maybe. All right, so I'm going to delete all of these and use the hi-hat here. And we're going to use the snare here. Let's select our area here. So you see how easy it is to just take a drum loop, an existing drum loop, and remake it to your own. Because now it sounds very much different from the original drum loop, but still you use some very nice high quality samples in there. And you can get inspired by just importing an existing drum loop and extracting it like this. And it works very, very easily. And I really love FL Studio about this, that the slicing functions and the different functions to just export different elements from a drum loop and just having it in like this is very, very nice to have. And you can see now how important it is to just have these different pre-made tracks here in the playlist, because now you can use them for the drums, for instance. Of course, you can use it in the empty track section here, but now we have them organized. So it's very easy now to have our drum loop like this. And yeah, it's very nice to work it like this. Alright guys, so I hope you learned a lot with this video, and I see you in the next lecture.